ladies, gentlemen, those in between and affiliated. Welcome to the Novelist podcast. Here tonight, Caleb has brought with him another OVA that we're going to talk about. Even though it's on the title, Caleb, what do you have? What have you brought with you tonight?
Yeah, just me and Isaac, we had a little bit of spare time, and not enough time to necessarily cover a full feature. And so I was like, okay, we don't have time for a full feature. It's time to head back to the basement to dust off some old VHS tapes, see what we got in there. That's about the 45-minute length. And stumbling through the list of titles there, I came across one that had been on the list, but one that I didn't really know anything about. And that was Black Magic M-66. Isaac, you helped me maybe figure out why I put it on the list because the name didn't spark any memories. But who is behind this? Who is the person who created this manga and whatnot?
It would be none other than Shiro Masamune, aka Ghost in the Shell Bud.
Yeah, and apparently with this movie, Appleseed, I did not realize there's a reference that we'll point out later in this, but I was like, oh, I did not realize that guy was attached to that too.
Oh, and of course, Dominion Tank Police.
Oh yes, yeah. Is Appleseed is that in the same universe?
There's that's the thing in his where what is it? Is it like two? Oh yeah, it's two characters from Dominion Tank Police. I think show up in the original Ghost in the Shell manga.
Hmm.
So I think there is like a loose connection between those three. Not so much this, for reasons of course.
Yeah.
But I guess playing to our gag as usual. Because we've been enjoying a lot of these. Or at least I personally have been enjoying a lot of these.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad we're doing them. But like again, I only can speak for myself. But what we've kind of been on a bust. The whole Ultra-Violent A-Rated Basement section of this.
Uh-huh.
Like yes and no. I guess like Riding Beam was probably like the most intense one, but I'm still thinking like I think there's a lot dirtier ones out there and more like scummy ones. And so again, not that there hasn't been like violence in these, but again, it's not what I'm thinking. It's not what I'm thinking there. Again,
Yeah.
Riding Bean's closest one. So today we're gonna break that streak. Finally, we're finally gonna get one that's really like, I feel bad about this. Watching this, I need to go take a shower.
Yeah, I guess let's dig into it and find out. Do you have your copy of? I guess we should point out where we're getting this source from, even though I'll have it down in the description.
Of course.
But we're both watching the same source on YouTube, just to break the illusion that we have it on tape. We don't.
Discotheque. I hope one day.
But this is put out by Agnes Dye. Again, it'll be in the description, but it's essentially the only one on YouTube that has the English subtitles, at least that I could find.
Currently at 19,000 views right now, and it was posted 3 years ago on January 13th, 2021.
Yeah, and I don't know about your version, but on my YouTube one, second from the top is Anime Abandon. So I guess he covered this all those years ago.
Yeah, 6 years ago, apparently. Guess what I'm going to watch after this? Haven't watched it yet. I've seen the thumbnail before when I've gone through his list, but I've not seen. I've not watched it yet because I didn't know that this was that. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's. So I'm excited what I'm going to be watching afterwards. But anyway, that's for after this recording. Caleb, are you ready? Have you gotten it to timestamp 0?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, so we'll do our level best to give you an intellectually stimulating conversation. Don't know if that's possible with this. It probably is. And I'll at least also hopefully provide some context as to what's going on screen so that people can follow along. I believe there was a DVD of this released by ADV, but it's obviously, of course, now out of print. Or not out of print, but you could probably find it on certain thrift stores or online thrift shops, sort of stuff like that. I don't know if I think this is on VHS at some point. I really don't know. But if you want to watch alongside us, get to timestamp 0 and please press play right now. Rain.
But yeah, definitely out of print because they stopped producing new copies. Yeah, I can't remember when it said, but it looked like it'd been quite maybe it was like the late 2000s or something like that.
Yeah, sometime about then.
But yeah, open it up and it jumps right into it. No credit sequence or anything. It's right here with a helicopter and a rainstorm.
Mayday, mayday, evac, get out of here. Mayday, get out of here. We gotta drop the load. Sorry.
Yeah, and right off the bat, I like you get the sense of this going to be somewhere in the future. And if you read the premise, then yeah, this is going to be some tech kind of stuff, future tech.
Tech noir, except we actually have a forest in front of us. Oh boy, hopefully it doesn't catch on fire. Unlikely those guys survived.
Yeah, and I think we discussed this when I first brought this to the table. That we were kind of like, oh, like the title, it's got magic in there. Is this going to be maybe somewhat fantasy bent or something? But no, I guess the magic is just this threat that we have is so spectacularly powerful that it's maybe in a way, I don't know. That was just my trying to figure out why that has that title.
I actually know something, but maybe we'll get into it later.
Oh, oh, okay.
Although this was a little confusing, not confusing. This part where it's like Black Magic Mario 66. Uh,
Yeah, they put a little title for just in case you're curious, even though it's not needed detail. The M stands for Mario.
it is the future.
Yeah. Central City, I think they say at some point.
That's right. It is Central City.
Yeah.
All right. I wonder if I can see him down there. Nope, can't see him down there. Well, we're in somebody's bathtub or bathroom. Excuse me.
Yeah, and by the way, the minute I saw a shower curtain, I was like, okay, what's the likelihood that's going to be a naked lady that steps out? And I was like, 90%, 95%.
Put that on your bingo card. I actually was hoping that it was a guy. I was like, all right, let's go. And the thing of it is, Sybil kind of does look like a guy.
Oh, yes, we'll talk about the stand in that she, kind of looks like representing as it goes along of 80s. Oh, but did you notice the ring finger with the tan line on it there?
Oh no, I missed that son of a gun. I know obviously why later on, but I was like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
guess no, I did not realize that.
Yeah, and so right off the bat, I was like, okay, we're immediately starting with a naked lady. This is definitely OVA territory. Is this going to be a more sleazy and violent one? And I guess I won't spoil, but right off the bat, we're getting some sleaze.
Although this joke, I know there is sleaze, but I actually, I don't know, this one's got some humor to it, which I appreciate, and just for the gag of just like
Yeah.
I go out with without clothes, it's like, you know what, I'll give it that. I found that funny,
And I liked that she didn't go back in her house and get dressed. She just went back in her house and grabbed her clothes. So she must have changed in the elevator or something.
or down the stairs.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I just appreciate that kind of just blatant quality. It's like, okay, we know what market we're in, so let's just get it out of the way right away. There's Naked Lady for you, and they go modest. They mainly just show the butt, so they're not going too sleazy as some of these can get. Like
Oh,
Riding
that's
Bean
true.
opened up with the naked lady running around in that gunfight, with all the violence and the nudity.
Yes, certainly. And all of a sudden, now we've entered Rambo.
Oh yes, this is a lot of this movie is a collage of okay, what are the 80s action movies? What can we throw in here to tie into that movement? And yeah, I was also thinking, I don't know if you ever heard of this one, Alienator. It also involves some yeah, killer kind of thing. I don't want to spoil too much, but killer, somewhat robotic thing running around the woods.
That definitely rings a bell.
Oh, it's going to be covered one day on the podcast. It is worth the discussion. It is some comical, weird stuff.
Has Red Letter Media done that yet on their best of the worst?
Um, I feel like they have. I feel like they did it early on.
Guess it's one of those.
That may have actually. Well, actually, no, that wasn't why I saw it. But I, if Scream Factory used to put out these collections of movies, where it'd be like four sci-fi classics or four horror classics, and they were all those kind of silly B movies. And so I bought a bunch of those. That's why I saw that one.
Anyway, sorry. So for the audience, of course,
Oh
have
yeah,
these. We have this major who arrived with his crew or his squad, excuse me, and are investigating the wreckage of the helicopter or the aircraft that crashed down, and has released like two pods. There's these like two pods that have been released, and the occupants in the pods are no longer in there.
yeah. So we get a little bit of mystery set up here early on. And this major character, I feel like we've seen some stand-ins like him throughout a couple of these little anime stuff that we covered.
This definitely feels like your previous pick from last time there.
Oh, Metal Skin, yeah, Panic, yeah.
Not as much though, thankfully. I think there's a little bit of a twist. Not to give too much away. I feel like there's a little bit of a twist because I mean, maybe they are playing into the trope of just like, oh, can the major be trusted? Is he gonna go full on General Kilgore on us? Or sorry, General Ripper. Sorry,
Yeah,
not
and
Kilgore.
yeah, and I was worried about that right away because some guy comes up, another looks like another military guy, but lower down, and he's very loudly talking about the secret project that they're trying to cover up here. And then he orders one of his men to take him away by gunpoint. So I was like, "Oh crap, is this guy going to be a ruthless guy?" I couldn't tell if they killed that other guy, by the way.
Uh, not spoilers, but yeah, I don't think we ever see him again. But I also don't think they do.
Yeah,
So maybe there's some redeeming parts, but that little piece of animation right there of her just like flipping down, that's something I would do.
yeah. As we return to our nude figure from earlier, it turns out she's a reporter, and she was listening into some military comms on her computer. Yeah, it's 1987, and she's got that personal computer at home. There you go. I don't know how big those were at this time.
Well, I mean, if we're talking monitor wise, they're pretty big. As for popularity, certain people had it, some people didn't.
Yeah, but she's definitely dressed like she's an 80s action hero. She's got the bandana on. She's in some somewhat fatigues looking clothing, or at least some sort of someone who likes to hide out in the woods, adventurer type. And she's got this big ass camera with her, video camera.
Yeah, it's interesting she didn't become like a military photographer. Maybe she was.
Hey, maybe she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course, like, the man's, doing some illegal stuff, so can't have that anymore. So we gotta report the news. So, yeah. I guess she joins her fellow brethren of or sisterhood or whatever you want to call it of April O'Neil, Lois Lane, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, whoever else.
Well, she's trying to get the truth and the scoop.
Yeah, but I think she's got a good look. She's a standout, and she definitely has some masculine features to her. I guess they're talking about the husband here. She, I don't know. I guess can't deal well with relationships, which is not something they really pick up much of, but it's at least a little bit of detail for
It's
this
yeah,
very short feature.
something to give her a standout like role in. Whoops,
Yeah.
that's gonna.
So we cut over to this random house, and we see the military are coming to, I don't know, talk to somebody, and they just break right through the roof. I was like, was that an accident? What was that?
I'm not sure, but I also wonder if that was a gag because I believe Paris here is like, oh yeah, no, they're back again. They destroyed the roof, so it's a common occurrence. Hey, there's a monitor for you.
Yeah, and again, the second female character that we see, scantily clad, not nude this time, but definitely they're highlighting her features in that way.
Well, fortunately, she's a
I was like, oh yeah,
teenager, so that makes it a little bit like, wouldn't do that.
yeah, this is the stuff we expect from OVAs at this point. And so again, yeah, this series, we've definitely not quite hit the ultra-violent mark very often, but we've definitely seen a lot of female nudity throughout these. They apparently the OVA market was very well saturated with that kind of thing.
Appealing to guys who had never interacted with a female in their life other than their mother.
And speaking of, here we have a nerdy scientist with glasses that are all spinny. I always like that look.
Dang friggin' thing don't work, don't man dingo friggin' anyway.
By the way, this is so 80s. I love that she's got the headband too. I think this is like her workout outfit. And it's got the little peace symbol on it. I was like, hey, I like that little peace symbol. That's kind of cool.
Oh, wait, the one on her hair or around her necklace or around her neck? Sorry.
And her hair. I thought that was part of her headband that she was wearing.
Looked more like the yin yang.
Yin yang. Sorry.
Well, to me at least.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah. Balance symbol.
Oh, hey, so here's looks like these two buds just came out of the willows. Now they're going this way.
Yeah, a couple of red shirts perhaps.
Uh
Waiting for to be the first targets.
I don't know. That guy looks pretty plaid to me.
Yeah, and I like that this, even though it's more of a sci-fi kind of actiony thing. Oh, bear time! Watch out!
Oh, and all of a sudden we entered. That's what happened to that bear. Interesting.
Oh, that's just sad. That poor
Ah,
bear.
wow. Okay. Well, is Lou anywhere nearby? Okay, this
Is
is
that was that the name of that character?
yeah, that was the name of the female character.
Everybody go watch our bear episode on the feed.
Okay, this that was actually kind of ambitious shot, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, and they did that earlier when the reporter was driving onto some more bumpy road. They had that similar kind of movement shot, tracking shot kind of thing.
So for a background for you, apparently Masamune actually had a hand in, I think, the storyboards of this OVA. He actually got a chance to
Oh,
work on
cool.
this, and my brief research on this stuff, it turns out he has not been a part of his other works, such as Dominion Tank Police. I don't know for sure. Dominion Tank Police, Appleseed, or Ghost in the Shell. Of course, the famous one. I say famous one, but the '95 version. So this is one where he actually had a hand in it, and it's like, okay, maybe like if it was a lot of his storyboards, like that's it. By the way, I like this part where he just the major uses the side mirror to like it just adjusts it, but also uses it as like a way to look behind him. I think that's really
Yep.
clever.
Yeah, another good tracking shot too. The motion. Yeah, the I think the character models in this, most of them are fairly basic. I like our lead general, and I like some of the focus point ones. Um, and maybe overall there's a not super flashy animation here, but I think overall it's all pretty good, and I like a lot of the designs for like we're seeing here with this. I guess like their version of a helicopter, this giant ship.
Like a smaller helicopter almost. If Yeah, I guess a helicopter because all the other ones are like transport copters for the military. Well, I will agree where I don't think the animation is. Oh, I just had the or the art style. How did I put it? I just had a thing. It's not crude. Maybe crude in like the best way when I say that. Like just like it's sacrificing certain things. But when it comes to designs, I've definitely a lot of the background characters. I don't know about Sybil or the Major, but they both actually some of them, even the guy with the glasses here, he definitely they all seem like a bunch of background characters you would see in a Masamune manga.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say the crude seems like maybe too far of a step. Oh, I like that the shot of the owl there.
Oh yeah.
By the way, this right here all feels like the Predator. The action in the woods, the laser, people just being brutalized.
Oh, jeez, yikes. Same year by the way.
Yep, yep.
So there's no way they would have had time to like have been influenced by that. Other stuff they would have been, but like Predator, it's like that was just a happy coincidence.
Yeah. Oh, but I was gonna say, a lot of the animation here feels like TV animation rather than maybe like feature. But I think it all works. I definitely like the look of it.
There's certain shots where I'm like, well, see, that explosion was not TV. Like I could see, like they had a little bit, like you could see little bits of like the explosion
That's
coming off.
fair.
So it's like, no, that doesn't seem TV to me.
Yeah, but for the most part, yeah, there's definitely some flourishes where like we were talking about the motion stuff. That seems a little bit more advanced than TV budgets would allow for the most part. At least in like the 90s and I guess the 80s. I haven't seen too much 80s anime stuff, but for TV, that one's a creepy one that's like crawling, that animal like one.
Or at least the way she walks, or they walk. Excuse me. No, I like that where all of a sudden, like uses that like acts like a robot and uses their. I gotta say, yeah, the way they animate the robots here is, or gynoids, whatever you want to call it, is like almost perfect. Where they utilize their body perfectly. The fact that they, like they don't do obviously, but they could probably turn their torso around like 360.
Yeah, there's a good like you can immediately tell like there's even though they look humanoid, there's nothing humanoid about how they move and interact with the world, which I like.
I will say
Yeah, they feel pretty distinct.
the kind of the outfit itself. So, jeez, oh my word. Sorry, just like getting
Yeah.
eviscerated some of these like military soldiers. But some of the I think the outfit that they're wearing is kind of reminiscent of maybe in the either in the film or in the manga of the major like Kusanagi, excuse me, her invisible cloak, if you remember, cloak invisibility, whatever you want to call it.
Yes. Yeah, no, and I can see that. Yeah. By the way, I like that moment there. There's some nice touches of comedy. When our reporter, she's been arrested by the military, and she's got this guard, and the truck that they're in gets knocked over, and she sees her chance. Okay, I can knock this guard out and escape. She hits him, and it doesn't even do anything. He's just like, oh, like, hey, what are you doing?
The dark comedy though comes just as like another. It's like, okay, here, soldier, you take over these guys or like watch these guys, and then turns out he's got like a bullet hole the size of a baseball in his back, and he dies. Like jeepers.
Yeah, already blown through. Yeah, and to spoil this discussion, yeah, in terms of the ultraviolence, we've once again not really come across something too extreme, but there's some nice flourishes that catch you off guard. A little bit like, oh, that was more gory or bloody than I was expecting.
Okay, this whole scene, my jaw was on the floor. Like, I don't know if I've seen like a fight scene like this at this time period ever. Like how I don't know, like how fluid it is, and like even though it's one versus many, I'm not sure. I think it was like, especially like when one of the robots like kind of parried against like the gunner or something like that. I got to give
Yeah,
full on praise, and all of the setups as well. Of like we haven't really mentioned it, but there's a lot of setups and payoffs here where they mention if you like ruin or wreck the robots, they're going to shoot out a bunch of darts and then release toxic gas or something like that. I love that.
yeah, yeah. Built in, even their death is should be fatal to anyone close by. Kind of like an alien.
Hmm. I was gonna say, sounds like a certain thing that may like this part right here of them just like this one just kicking all rear and like I've not seen this ever unless
Yeah,
it was like in some like Monty Ohm short or even I guess modern fight scenes from I guess like maybe 2010s. Yeah, I guess even like early aughts or late aughts.
yeah, and the kind of staff fighting, the fluidity of how the robot was hitting people with that. Yeah, I thought was really yeah great.
In the
Yeah, this whole section, by the way, is I think the highlight of the movie. I think it's just
It
it's all
certainly is. I we'll get to later like stuff well, as we go on. I have other stuff to say, but like yeah, this one definitely was like oh man.
yeah
So I'm pretty sure there's only one OVA by the way. There's no like split parts. Pretty sure it was just because
yeah
I
just
didn't
one and
really
done.
see any significant like okay cut to next like when we did Blood Rain Curse of the Yoma where it was clearly
Yeah,
two parts to it. This one is all like fully like 47 minutes in length. Um, Lost my train of thought.
I just love those glasses, those silly glasses.
So now, it's revealed that so these robots they were be transported somewhere, and the looks like the scientist man or the science guy in the glasses, he had been one of the guys that programmed these robots with the software, and when it came to I guess tracking targets, he I guess just as a demonstration, he used his granddaughter to just yeah, I guess as an example, just to test the capabilities. Fair enough, but then I guess in
Yeah,
the like rush of it all or whatever, as he I guess prepped them for launch, um, forgot to delete her name in their programming.
yeah. So all this whole plot is just comes down to a fuck up all around. First, I guess there was some sort of why did the ship go down the start? Was it just all the stormy stuff?
There's potential for a inside job. I think there was like
Hmm.
something happening where like there may have been moles or people inside the military is basically what's going on there in the background apparently in this entire like setting. By the way, this shot is amazing with just not only like I guess the tracking shot or
Yeah,
but just the art itself. Wow, like
yeah. Really cool.
that is a cyberpunk city if I were like the definition. um Definitely different from Blade Runner. But throughout this, oh geez, this is cool. But throughout this OVA, or at least in the background, they mentioned that there's been like this place called the North, whatever that means. Expo 85. Oh, why not Expo
Yeah.
86? What the hey? But I apparently there's a North now. When they say North, by the way, the Muppet movie.
Yes, I was like, what's Fozzie Bear doing in there?
There you go. I was like, hey, nice. But um, but they mentioned this like unknown location called the North, and Masamune has, yeah, just but in what do you call it, in Ghost in the Shell, is the manga. There definitely is the USSR is present, so I assume
Hmm.
either if he means North, it's like, okay, are we talking like, Ireland situation where the NRA is involved, like not NRA, but like their NRA, sorry, IRA, pardon me, the IRA is split, or is it like, or Japan is split, or when we say North, are we referring to the Ruskies?
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. At first, I thought they were talking about North Korea. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I was like, oh wait, no, they're not.
They definitely are not. Um, but anyway, yeah, Sybil just drove over to the grandfather's place, or the crazy scientist man's house, or what he thinks is a house. And her partner there was like, "How do you know this is a house? There's a moat." All right, interesting.
Yeah, yeah. She continues to be a part of the plot, but her little reporter pal that we saw before, he's going off to take his film to the I guess the station.
Yep, no, for to have news headlines and all that stuff. So I believe, yeah, this part here, or that previous scene where one of the, I guess, I say underlings, but one of the um soldiers goes to the major and informs him of, I guess, what occurred. I believe, like what caused the whole ruckus of just like, yeah, there was like a mole on the inside that caused the ship to crash, and the robots were released.
Oh, okay. Mm.
I think I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, just because I can't remember if we cut back to that little bar scene. I did like that again, even though this is a short OVA. Oh, I like some of this destruction of the house.
Oh, certainly.
Um, but I like that they did it. This is funny too. She's just paying so much attention to the rest of the house, she doesn't notice this mailbox right in front of her. Walks right into
Yep.
it.
And it probably says something, but I can't read Japanese, so I have no idea what it says. And then of course it like lands on her foot. Simple,
Yeah, it kicks it in rage, and yeah,
but you know what? As basic as the, I guess, wow, how I say it, as basic as the humor is, I'm okay with it.
yeah. No, I appreciated it. They worked. But I was gonna say I like that they did enough to establish that this future society has their own sense of style and yeah, like makeup choices. Like one of her friends, her whole face is like purple except for her mouth. That's some big makeup.
Not to say that it's not enriched in its own decade, of course, or at least its own era.
Yeah, future '80s again.
Never see that again.
Yeah, yeah, futuristic '80s was a fun time. They the way that they expanded '80s culture into extremes was yeah, it's always cool to see.
That's all it was, which that's why we always come back to it, because yeah, it literally was just the '80s, but the future.
Yeah, and I like the different robots that we see here. Some of them are kind of creepy as well. I always like a little touch of horror in there.
Yeah, especially I won't say this one, but yeah, I guess this was to show, if people didn't know that this was a robot like made nowadays, but it's like, well, I like that definitely where Sybil's just like, oh geez, what the hey, this whole place has got robots in it. But, no, it's just
Yeah.
guy worked with robots, so of course he's gonna have robots lying around everywhere.
Yeah, and just out of coincidence, while she's here, she happens to see on their little vid screen that the granddaughter left a voicemail or video mail, letting the grandfather know that she was at that bar. And that's when our lead gets to thinking, like, hey, wait a minute, if the robot was here and the robot was there, maybe it's going after that girl.
Again, this gag where she's like, oh, okay, forgot my stuff, as she goes to the wall, and then she does the sensible thing, goes to the door. It's actually smart to go through the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, again, simple gags, but something like this 45 minute little action piece, you gotta do what you gotta do to make it stand out. And I think that they made some wise choices in here.
Okay, don't rev it to 50 RPM or whatever that is, because of course you're gonna go fat. Jeez, not 50. Okay, 50 RPM is actually fast. It would be 5 times 1,000 RPM.
And what happened there? Did it look like the front wheel came off and she was just riding in the back wheel?
And the front wheel came off.
That's gonna be a tough ride.
You said it. So yeah, that's what I was going to mention. This really does remind me of Megazone 34 or 32, excuse me.
Oh, I never seen that one. Yeah, it's on my list.
No, no, sorry, yeah, Metal Skin Panic, excuse me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry, this reminds me of it's definitely like around like we're after robots, whereas that one was we are after that mech suit.
Yeah, and we'll get to Appleseed eventually too, but I can see some connections there as well. It's been a while since I've seen that one, but
The 80s version, not the 2000s version.
yes, the OVA. Yeah. Yeah, whenever we cover the OVA, maybe we'll take a look at the 2004 or whatever it was
with
version. I've been curious to check that out.
with was who was in there? Hashtag Schuler. I hope somebody gets that joke. Even though he just had a new one, a new like I guess call sign or whatever. No, was it with did I have who did let's see, keep saying Ken on
Oh,
Watanabe. It's not the case. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, just while you're thinking there, I did think it was funny that, okay, she rides into the city on that bike with one wheel, gets to the top of one of these buildings, happens to see someone just macking on some lady, some pilot, I guess, and she just like, okay, I'll steal his plane while he's busy. And this does not seem like, even though it seems like a lot of the city is populated by flying objects, like maybe we have a little flight path here, but it seems like the city's not well built for lots of flying stuff going by. It seems like a busy area to be flying through.
I mean, if this is what Coruscant was inspired by, well, at least those buildings are a lot more spacious than here, and makes sense why she alludes the police. Because it's funny, the I guess the police airplanes or what do you want to call it, aircrafts. At first they looked small, then they looked very large in scope. So it's kind of funny how
Yeah,
I guess there was a I was saying off model, but the size was like okay, hang on a second.
yeah, it caught me off guard. But again, they're doing a lot to change things up, keep things interesting and different. And even though it's only 45 minutes or so, adding a lot of variety. Like we had a little bit of a plane chase there.
Uh,
So good economy of the time that they have.
And I did enjoy when Sybil kind of questioned, like, should I really be doing this? Like who cares? But she's like, no, I have to. Like, it's somebody's life on the line.
Oh, and by the way, when she was flying, was it the manual that she was reading through when the cops arrived? It
Yep.
was like she was learning how to fly it as she was going.
And with autopilot on, man, Mr. Doom or whatever.
See, look at it. This does not seem like a place that's safe for flying through, but she's going for it.
You'd think that there'd be a lot of turbulence and or like wind generated from her just being like so low with if it is a VTOL craft, even though it's got propellers on it. By the way, John Woo, that's who I was thinking. I think John Woo's also was attached to that uh Appleseed movie from 2004. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I might
Oh,
be wrong on that.
oh, the 2004 one. Oh, okay, cool. I like that this city has so many different levels to it.
See, this is what I'm talking about when it came to like, Superman the animated series with its view of Metropolis. I'm not saying I want this, but I'm definitely like, yeah,
Mm.
I guess I could have had that. It's what I kind of want Metropolis to have, like density wise, but whatever, it is what
Ooh,
it is.
did you see that skinhead guy with the swastika on the back of his head?
I did not. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, throw that in there.
I missed that. You can also mention, like, notice that when we had that crowd shot of Sybil going into Tech Noir, you kind of saw
Yeah, it's there. Thank
you
you.
kind of had like I'm not saying breakdown, but you definitely had like the faces look not as detailed, but that's not a bad thing. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, no, I can see where they cut corners, but I don't know, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say this was another piece of them referencing some stuff from the 80s. Now our lead turns into Kyle Reese for the next little bit here.
Well, combination between Kyle Reese, Sarah Connor. That didn't happen yet. I guess didn't happen yet. That
Yeah.
was not until '92. I forgot, but definitely
Well,
Sarah or Kyle Reese, and then of course Ellen Ripley.
yeah, and on the wall there we got some little bit more nudity thrown in. Why not?
Yeah, it looked like it was a Scream, but in a different style or a different painting.
Yeah, when she was trying to talk to her right there, I was waiting for her to say, just come with me if you want to live. I don't know if they were gonna go that far.
There's definitely that. Yeah. So I know this part isn't as kinetic. Well, actually, I think it is as frenetic and kinetic as the first one.
It's good.
But yeah, even if it is just like, one chasing like the other, I say the other, but one chasing these two like ladies, I don't have a problem with that. Like I'm completely satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say if someone's here for looking for story, I mean, again, maybe some of these OVAs is not the best place to look because something like this, the story is fairly thin, and the characterizations are fun, but maybe not very depthful. But in terms of the variance of what we're getting to see, the different types of action scenes, the different bits of gore or some sleaziness here or there, I think that they pack it through, and you really can't go bad with 45 minutes with something like this. Like I think that they've done a great job making it feel distinct, even though it's so short. But I don't know if this could be stretched to feature length. With what we have here, I don't know if this was an hour and a half, if it would still be as enjoyable.
Well, much like riding Bean and or I guess it was an OVA, but still like Gunsmith Cats, I'm getting the sense of, I don't know if I'd say pilotitis, but just this definitely feels like a pilot to a TV show.
Oh, that's interesting. I couldn't see them having too much more story, but
Hey, so that's where they got the idea from in Underworld.
there you go. Yeah. I did love the look of the laser as it was cutting through. I thought that was great visual.
Oh yes, it was. But yeah, there's not much. I guess I don't know how much narrative I'm gonna obviously mention, but we're here in like the Rocky Meat Locker where they had previously entrapped the robot, but did not work in the long run because it is like it will like reach its like it's trying to finish its task.
Yeah, I was going to make the gag that Stephen Hopkins saw that scene when he was making Predator 2. It was like, I want to do a scene just like that. Because there's one very similar in Predator 2.
By the way, this freaking like this OVA man, like take a shot every time you see a wire.
Yeah, and that stuff's cool. Like the fingers that just spread out to be, yeah, that kind of slicing net. That's cool.
Seen that many times, and wait till we get to uh, Battle Angel Alita or Elita, excuse me.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it. Whoa.
Look at all those like literally. This is if you have a fetish for wires, like hey, like there you go.
Yeah, and how do you feel about these the villains that we have? We only have one now, just the M-66 F6.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it a villain. I guess it is a villain, but it was
Yeah.
you never. I mean, it's a war machine. I know that for a fact. But like, I don't know. I think it looks cool. I really like how it moves and whatnot. And again, it's like it definitely is the successor, as TV tropes put it, to the Terminator. Like it will not stop.
Yeah.
Definitely a good like killer machine. But no, I like the design. And I like how robotic it is as well, but still looking well. It's obviously humanoid, bipedal, but
Yeah, in a way, I almost felt bad for it because, I mean, again, it's completely robotic. It doesn't seem like it has any sort of AI to it at all. It's just following its programming. And everyone just kind of failed it and got it destroyed. But maybe I shouldn't feel anything for it because it's a robot with no feeling. But I had a little bit of that.
that is the thing, though. They don't mention that in this movie or OVA, excuse me, where there's no like anti-robot sentimentality. This is not like Astro Boy or in any way. It's just another tool.
Yeah. Yeah, the only negative is like, oh, like they would unleash this kind of ruthless, almost. I mean, we've seen one being destroyed, but such a difficult killing machine onto the world makes you see the callousness of whatever government this is, Central City government.
And flips you over. Jeepers! Wow, these guys are spared.
Yeah, the other one would have pushed them right through the wall and been just exploded in a bit of big bit of blood.
Like, there's no like. See, unlike the Terminator, like okay, maybe, and this may be a thing as well. This part's cool. Just this tracking shot almost of like the three of
Yeah,
the
really
leads.
good.
I'm calling obviously the robot elite as well. Just inside an elevator, and we're in here, and we have this like magnet device that keeps it away from Sybil and Paris. I think that's. I don't know how you would have done it in live action, but this definitely works in animation.
Yeah, and I wish that there was more information out there because I couldn't really find anything. Maybe on the DVD, maybe they had some sort of extra. But I was curious if they were playing around with some computer effects with the way that, especially this one in the elevator, that distortion, if they were doing that tracking shot. There was something about that that felt like it would have been more of like in a way, CGI altered. But I don't really know how much they were doing that in '87. That seems pretty early for that kind of thing.
Probably not. I don't really know if there's any CGI here, and I think CGI would have been mentioned in the credits. I don't think so,
Hmm.
but
Well, it felt very advanced, that shot.
definitely. And if that was just pure animation, like but hand drawn animation, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, very curious to see how they did that.
but in terms of like with the android itself or the robot, you know, see, I'll still like they are menacing, but I'll still give it to Terminator because like the T-800, that thing is scary, especially with the stop motion. Like this thing is like moving as like there's some robotic nature to it, but it's still like humanoid looking. Whereas like original Terminator, man, the T-800, that thing was stop motion. That thing was scary.
Yeah, and that was kind of why I was asking what you thought, because as much as I like the design, I think that there's a lot of really cool fight scenes. Just the fact that it has no personality and it's just this kind of mindless robot, yeah, it just makes it, just not very interesting. If this was a pilot, I would be like, okay, we need a better villain going forward.
No, that's fair. This part's cool though. This is cool. Like I think that part where it like uses its
Yeah,
own arm to like detonate an entire like few columns on this building, I think is pretty brilliant.
yeah, yeah. This thing's a big success. If this is their test run, oh boy, yeah, the military is going to be funneling however much money that professor needs. We'll write you a blank check. Give us 20 of these.
Jeez. Yeah, if this is like, I wouldn't say I guess you could almost say like, this is Terminator but on like up to 11, the JJ Abrams like, Terminator
Yeah.
on crack. I don't know. I'm enjoying this. I don't think Cameron would have been able to have done this,
No,
but it
no.
doesn't like that does not at all subtract Terminator from what it is, or even Terminator 2, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, me and you have always been big advocates for animation, and this, especially, this time, the limitations of the low budget cinema in the '80s. There's no way in the world you could accomplish something like this in the late '80s on a low budget with this kind of scope, this kind of the beautiful city, the grand devastation. You could only get something like that in animation. Even now, I'm sure a lot of that stuff wouldn't blend as well because CGI. I mean, a lot of times it's just not quite there, and I feel like there's certain stories that just will always work better in animation. And with the scope they go for here, yeah, I just couldn't see a live action version of this being as successful.
I never want to. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah,
By the way, I'll never get this in a. I missed my chance to say it. I also meant to say it earlier, but the scene where the military was attacking one of the robots in the forest, I'm like, geez, I could see where they got that idea from Pat Labor One. Again, I'm spreading it. I'm like dropping hints every now and then. I'm like
yeah,
setting it up. I've
yeah,
been doing this for a reason. I'm just like when we finally get to it, you'll understand what I mean, even though you'll remember none of this.
yeah. I'll be like, oh, so there's Thanos. Yeah, that's who he is.
Ah, yeah, that's who he's talking about.
Waiting all this time.
I just again every
Oh,
time like they keep ascending, they always like go back down because the oh geez, that's yikes. That's
yeah.
definitely yeah. Don't worry, Paris. I understand your reasons for being scared, but like no, just like every time they keep going up again, just the set piece itself, or just the whole building is just about to like collapse. I love it.
Is that a peace sign on the hip of that thing? Did you see that?
The robots. I'll have to
Yeah,
check again. Does it say dump one?
that'd be a nice little touch of irony.
That definitely would be. Definitely shows that there is a lot more going on in this world. I think I mentioned where it's just like, yeah, if these robots were unleashed on just like enemy soldiers, like you can only imagine if like this is one of them. It's like that
Yeah.
line in Civil War where when we have like the newly, I guess, Hydra versions of the super soldiers, it's like, they could take like a whole army out in a night or whatever, or take over a whole country. It's like,
Hmm.
jeez, yeah, I can imagine with these things. Very similar. And of course, Sybil sets up the trap of this like detonator, and of course, a rock prevents it from blowing up or working properly, and thanks to the, I guess, wind of the or turbulence, sorry, from the whatever it's called, from the helicopter or the aircraft. Of course, it pushes ever so slightly and then blows up. It's like a good aliens reference.
Yeah, I thought that whole sequence had a very James Cameron feel to it. I was seeing a little bit of True Lies, a little bit of Terminator Aliens.
Hey, there you go. So this is, I guess, a better version of True Lies than I guess what we had got.
Yeah, it's still an okay movie. Still a solid movie. Just too damn long.
Movie air quotes. Too dang long. Yeah, fair enough. What a save. By the way, when I watched this, today, went by a lot slower than I thought. Whereas I guess obviously we're talking about it, so of course it's gonna, I guess
Yeah,
be slower paced.
that's an interesting point too. It did feel a little bit long to me when I was watching it earlier. I was like, oh, for 45 minutes or 47 minutes, I should say, it feels like it's more like an hour. But yeah, talking about it right now, it does feel like it's zooming by.
This part would kind of surprise me. I'm like, oh, they have this scene in here. That's kind of awesome. Where they kind of not say redeem, but they definitely like I guess give more character to this major.
Yeah, they try. They try their best to make everything feel well rounded, as much as they can in such a short run time.
Oh, certainly. Like just giving him this, like he's regretting having to go to all the families of the 18 men that, or at least 18 soldiers that have lost their lives. Like, oh, wow, giving some pathos here to the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I've commented many times that I feel like they did a good job just rounding things out so it doesn't feel like this could very easily be just like a cheap action piece. Kind of like, no offense to it, but Metal Skin Panic, Maddox 01. I mean, it felt like that to some degree. Like it was just an excuse for cool animation and some fun action scenes without really much more. This is in a similar vein. They just added a couple more little nice details to make it feel a little bit more like a more fully fledged movie.
Yeah, I agree. There's very similar plot, but again, done by somebody else. And
Yeah.
what a good jump scare there for Sybil, at least.
Yeah, nice jump scare and mix in a comedy moment with that very anime. The hair flying, the giant eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, Masamune is good at that. Again, you'd be surprised how cartoonish at least in the beginning, Ghost in the Shell is in comparison to like the 95 movie, 85, 895.
Yeah, I like this moment too with the Ferris. She sees that this reporter is still gonna end up being arrested, and she comes over. She's like, "No, this can't be right. She just saved my life. You guys crazy?" And the colonel or whatever he is comes over. He's like, "Ah, just let her go, Major. There you go."
Okay, no charges are being pressed. That's interesting.
Yeah, you destroyed this building and whatnot, running from that thing, but I guess you didn't kill that girl. So there you go. I mean, really, all this is their fuck up. So
Anti-North feelings. What, like, I kind of like that as well. Like, what does that mean?
yeah, and that's kind of a Ghost in the Shell image there. The little half torso with the parts hanging out.
Yeah, no, I know why they did that though. They separated the torso or from each other, Appleseed, just so that it's not attacking everything.
Yeah, I do like that she's just covered in bandages. She's had a rough time of it.
She's been through the mill.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess this means this is like the closest thing I get to my Alien sequel, where it's just like the nuke character just left. It's just like, and she's going. But this is where I'm just like, I guess I say this part, but like, yeah, this part was like, I kind of want to see like not Sybil the animated series, but kind of just want to see like, I'm not saying yeah, where we see the army, but definitely interesting to see what the other happenings are going on in this world, and we see Sybil is the reporter who is our, I guess, like eye into this whole like madness.
That's fair. Yeah, if it was episodic following her investigations. Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah.
Because again, they sprinkle that little bit of like anti-North sentiment. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Like, what is this world about? And that's there again. These kind of things I'm reminiscent of in other Masamune stuff. So
Hmm.
um, it's not all like different, but especially this part here, like just the credits where we actually still have like the footage is rolling. and I assume this is just like a RoboCop reference, but that's the same year, so never mind.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually didn't see this. I stopped it once the credits started. I didn't realize that they did all these little clips. That's cool. I wish I would have seen that earlier.
See, it looked like, yeah. Also, they call it Ceramic City. That's kind of cool.
Oh, weird. I thought they said Central City before. Hmm.
The lyrics in this finale, like literally, it's called or finally, excuse me, the song. No, it's it mentions one of the lyrics like this ceramic city, which obviously means like made in as like porcelain or something like that, or it's been like
Hmm.
handcrafted or whatnot. I can't get the metaphor. I just like it. It just reminds me of what was it in Nausicaa, the manga. Excuse me. I think Miyazaki references it as like there was a ceramic era and an industrial era or something like that. That's kind of cool. But
Hmm.
no, these end bits here where we see you can see Sybil going everywhere, and she's reporting on this. So it's like I kind of want to see this. And if you've seen Pat Labor,
Oh no.
if you've seen Pat Labor the series, you can obviously go, all right, well, you can make a premise like this work. Um, but obviously, the question is that is she doing this for profit, or what is her whole like spiel on like the
Yeah.
news and like again is because you saw her like holding that camera on that flood. Should she have been helping them over reporting this or what exactly?
Yeah, I like that gag where she was at like a place where people were getting fucked up and she's thrown up. And then someone runs by and knocks her right into the thing that she was just thrown up in. Oh, I wish I would have seen
Exactly.
this. Is this a setup for potential sequel here?
Nope.
Nope.
It's the end.
That's all the end. Black Magic Mario. They put.
And by the way, another, I think just like Metal Skin Panic, I believe this was also, well, this is what we saw. This was also by AIC.
Oh, okay, cool. Little tie in there.
Well, there's another one. Okay, I see another anime or OVA that we'll be doing at some point. By the way, there's another one of the other pop-up videos that popped up afterwards. Is called Top 12 Ultra-Violent 80s and 90s Anime That Broke All the Rules of Today's Censorship.
Oh god, I get that video. Every time we do one of these OVAs, that fucking thing shows up right in there.
I know exactly what the image is from, and that image, by the way, of that like blood all around the woman, that's the image I'm talking about.
The ultra violence.
Again, right, riding bean, closest one. This one, not so much, but the devastation in this. Holy smokes, this was ambitious.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, we're getting closer. This is definitely a touch more ultraviolent than some of the stuff we've done recently. Tokyo or well, I guess Tokyo had its moment. The Running Man sequence had
Yep,
but it's all part of a bigger tapestry. And for this one, for my final thoughts, yeah, again, I think you have to know what you're getting. I think you have to, if you're coming here looking for some deep story, yeah, you're not really going to get it, but it's just a fun little adventure piece, fun little action, 45-minute short film in a way. Oh, I think that there's a lot here. I think there's a lot to enjoy. Some great animation, some fun, especially if you're just a fan of the art, the medium of animation. There's some cool inventive stuff here that maybe you wouldn't normally see in 80s anime, especially low budget stuff. So that's always cool. And if you enjoy 80s cheap action US like live action movies, I think there's a lot of fun reference pieces in here that if you are a fan of that genre, you'll see some DNA there. So I definitely came away positive.
I agree. Even though this had some, tech, I don't say tech noir themes. This was just again in that same run of like, the military's here. It's fun. It's funny how you enjoy this over the 2014 Godzilla film. I would assume so, probably because it's
Wow.
short, and because I guess because Sybil's not military, and I guess the gags that they give her is funny and there's not really much to her character, but I guess in comparison to the main protagonist in that one, you're just like, yeah, this was a lot of fun. And again, I guess like the characters weren't all that there, but this is a similar vein to like I said, Skin Panic, and probably another one where it's just like machines gone awry in this. Maybe not awry. Well, yeah, I guess so. Well, I guess in Skin Panic it was also like Kilgore or whatever his name
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, that
So
was it.
like Thank you. I get him and Ripper mixed up with each other, but like, yeah, we have Kilgore in there, so it's like, we have either guys going over the board. By the way, that's Kilgore is one of those guys who I'm like, see, in Godzilla 2014, none of those guys are like Kilgore, where they have one job, which is to push the nuclear button, launch button. Anyway, sorry, but yeah, we have another one where like this robot goes haywire. You can literally just say like robot experimental robot goes haywire, and the military has to stop it. That's pretty much the premise,
Yeah.
and that can almost be the same premise with all these, but Caleb is right. There's just some small touches, small details that separate this from a lot of the other stuff in the crowd and the other OVs that we've watched, even again with a similar premise. So I appreciate this one. Definitely flipping my sign as feeling it. I don't know if you remember this, Caleb, and it doesn't matter if we're doing this now, but if you remember way back and early in these OVAs we did, the recent ones, of course, I said, "Oh, would you have rented or bought this? Or not rented, but would you have bought this off the shelf if this was like if we were back in the '80s or not?" I, because I listened to one of our OVAs over that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot we did that gag or we did that thing." And this is definitely one that I would have purchased, not rented, because that would have like
Yeah.
rent or no rent. That's what I meant, or buy or no buy.
Oh, I would have bought this one. Absolutely. It's worth going back to, I would think.
I definitely agree. Anyways, anything else left on the table, Caleb?
Oh, I do. I just wanted to mention, I think it's a coincidence that this is the third OVA in a row released in 1987 that we've covered. And I don't have any more 1987 OVAs on my list. The only other movie on my anime list from that year is Royal Space Force: The Wings of
Hanamasia.
Hanamasia.
Oh boy. That'll be interesting. I can't wait to go to that one.
Yeah, and the one other one on our list, on my list, I should say, that we've already covered is Wicked City. So yeah, 4 OVAs from 1987 so far.
Oh, that was 87 as well. Oh, shoot. I
Yeah,
forgot about that.
but that's all I had.
No, that's fair. Well, join us next time, ladies and gentlemen, those in between unaffiliated, for another OVA and or whatever else pops up on the channel. Thank you for listening to us. Hopefully that was an intellectually stimulating conversation. If not, it was just, entertainment for as us two knuckleheads or jokers just, talk and a lot about this film or OVA, excuse me, or it was just white noise as you do your chores in the background. Thank you for letting us invade your ears and brainwaves. So, till next time, potentially maybe go to the sewers in comparison to going to on top of a large skyscraper if a killer robot, excuse me, is hunting you down. Because at least the Ninja Turtles will be there to hopefully defend yourself from. Till next time, peace.